Thank you, Kathy. Thank you very much. Friends, over the past several months, we have returned to the basics of our teachings here at Unity by studying the material written by the co-founder of Unity in his book, Charles Fillmore, in his book, The 12 Powers. Understanding that within each one of us there are 12 powers, as Charles called them, the 12 faculties of mind, of man. And when we read about man in the Bible or biblical literature, metaphysically we understand that we are reading about mind, and it's my mind. You say that, my mind, that I'm reading about. The 12 faculties of man, the 12 powers of man, are very similar to the 7 chakras in the body. Each month here we have sought to highlight one of the powers. In this month of October, the spiritual power is divine zeal or divine enthusiasm. And if you would put your hand on back of your neck, this is your divine zeal center. This is your enthusiasm center. And when you feel discomfort, dis-ease in that area, it is a call from that disciple to be spiritualized. And if you spiritualize that disciple, it will help us, just as we spiritualize the other disciples, to become more God-like, to become more Christ-like than we can do, as Paul often encouraged in his writings. We're better able to put on the mind of Christ, the mind of God, the mind that is made in the image and after the likeness of source, of spirit, of pure spirit. The disciple that corresponds with this particular spiritual power is Simon. Simon the Canaanite, or Simon the Zealot. And we understand that there are 2 Simons in the Bible. There's Simon Peter, who represents faith, and we acknowledge this faith power in January. And then there's Simon the Canaanite, Simon the Zealot. And as we hold this idea in mind, we will continue on the trajectory of good news this morning. Last week we talked about good news, and today we will, for the next few minutes, talk about the good news of divine opportunities. We were all invited to be more conscious of good news this past week. How many of you experienced good news over the past few days? How many of you encountered or had an encounter with good news at least once a day over the past, in spite of all of the stuff that may have been taking place, you had at least one encounter with good news? As we understand Simon the Canaanite, and Canaan, which represents the land of milk and honey, that land that is abounding with the blessings of God, the blessings of spirit, the blessings of life, the blessings of the universe. We understand that in his spiritual sense, Simon the Canaanite represents that part of us that is zealous to hear good news. In fact, that is that essential part of us. It is the essential part of our nature that is always seeking, always looking for the good in the experience, looking for the good in the individual, looking for the good in life. That's a natural part of us, regardless to how we feel that we've been socialized or conditioned. There is a part of every one of us who desires to see and experience good because we equate good with God. And we're longing for that aspect of ourselves, connection. In his book, Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes says that when we seek that good, when we look for the good, when we look for the good in ourselves, the good in the situation, the good in each other, that good will come forth. He calls it the perfection. I recall having a conversation with a couple. The couple decided to part ways, but they were still attending the same spiritual community. And she could not stand to see the sight of her ex-husband coming her way. And every Sunday, it was as though he was just making his way towards her. And she was so upset. And she says, well, I wish he would find another church to attend. And I'm like, well, how about if you try this treatment? Anytime you see him, rather than seeing him as that expression or that individual who you felt caused you discomfort, dis-ease, or pain, see him as the goodness of God coming your way. And she began to train her eyes and her ears that every time she saw him, she equated the goodness of God with him. And you know what happened? Eventually, everything shifted and he changed. But it really wasn't him. It was her experience with her stuff about him that changed. And they became best buddies. Friends, there's that part of us, Simon the Canaanite, is that zealous part of us that's always urging us forward to see the good, to find the good in every situation. And I would have you to know that, did I give you the topic? Good news, the good news of divine opportunities. The good news is that divine opportunities are always present. They're numerous. Divine opportunities, you'll find this definition of divine opportunities in Ecclesiastes. It's when time and chance comes together. When time and chance converge, and in that moment, we're giving an opportunity of a lifetime to choose to make a decision that will project or move us forward in our life and on our experience. But what often happens is if we have not spiritualized the inner ear, and that's Simon the Canaanite, or if we have not spiritualized the inner sight, that's Bartholomew, who represents imagination, we won't know the opportunity when it shows up. Just like when you recall the story, those of you who are familiar with the Bible, whenever says the master teacher, he was resurrected, the resurrected Christ appeared with his disciples. Said for 40 days he walked the earth, he supped with them, he talked with them, he walked, he fellowshiped with them. They had an experience with him for such a long time, they knew his voice, but there he was 40 days and they did not even recognize him. Friends, good is always showing up, and divine opportunities are as numerous as the stars in the sky and the sand in the sea. And a spiritualized eye, the spiritualized ear can hear, can sense, and can optimize on divine opportunities. Carpe diem, seize the day. The story is told of the young lady who was a waitress. Those of you who attended the other two services, just act like this is your first time hearing it. She was a waitress at a restaurant in Los Angeles. Cooking, cleaning, taking care of everything, doing all of the work, even the owner's work. And one day the owner went to her and says, "Dear, I need you to come in early. I need you to start coming in early." And there for a moment she thought, what do you mean come in early? I'm already the first one here. I'm opening the door. I get here before everyone else gets here. He says, I need you to come in early. And there for a moment she wanted to argue with him. He says, our customers are requesting pies. And presently, we're not baking pies, but I need you to come in early, extra early to start baking pies. And there she has a thought, the nerve of him to ask me to come in earlier to bake pies. Don't he know that I have a life? So she decided, rather than becoming bitter and fighting with the request, that she would step into that challenge and make the best of it. Every morning she got up earlier to arrive to bake pies. And something happened. Although she did not know that that was a divine opportunity, time and chance converging on her path that was about to project and to catapult her into dimensions that she had never known. There in that moment, says that as she was preparing the pies, friends, let me pause here parenthetically. Something extraordinary happens when we are in alignment with the divine opportunities. The blessing is on your work. We used to call it the anointing. I know some of you don't know what that means. Who knows what I'm talking about? The anointing is the blessing. It is the light of the Christ. It is the blessing of the universe that rests upon your service, upon your work, that makes your efforts easy. There's no stress or no strain. And there, as she started baking pies, it said people from all over would show up, drive from miles around, John, just to get a slice of that pie. And one day, she had what Oprah Winfrey calls an aha moment. She had a revelation. And she thought, well, instead of me baking pies for him, How about if I open my own restaurant and bake my own pies? And sure enough, she purchased her own facility, got her own equipment. And in 1964, Marie Callender had more than 114 restaurants in more than 15 different states because she saw, recognized her divine opportunity. And when we dare to step into that moment and recognize divine opportunity, the magic happens. And you don't have to convince anybody of anything when you are in alignment. I love this affirmation I got. Thank you, Reverend Joanne Landreth, for reminding me. When we are in alignment with the upper progressive movement of spirit, knowing that the mark of success is upon us right now, you can do anything. And you'll know that everything begins to work on your behalf. But if your mind, if your eyes, Jesus said they have eyes, but they cannot see. They have ears, yet they cannot hear. Friends, I want you to know that divine opportunity that is as numerous as the stars in the sky and the sand in the sea, the divine opportunities are knocking at the door of your life, asking, imploring, begging you to open up and just allow it to come in and to come through. And the best thing you can do is have thine own way. That's the best thing we say. Just come on in. Come on in, have thine own way. Because the stuff that you truly desire, and I don't care what label you give it, it's all, if it's good, it's God. Any expression, any desire for good is a desire for more God. And when we open I don't care if it's good health, good family dynamics, relationship, finances. If you train that inner ear, the Simon the Canaanite, to hear the good about yourself, first of all, then train that same inner ear to hear the good about your family, about your loved ones. Train that same inner ear to hear the good about your situation, about your health, about your money. Train the ear to hear it. And I promise you, if you can hear it, it will come forth and come through. You see, what often happens, we desire a good, but we have not learned how to get on the frequency of that good. Michael Beckwith talks about that. He says, if you want a good, any expression of good, you got to get on the frequency of it. If you're not on the frequency of it, you can't hear it. But I want you to know that your good has a sound. Oh, it's a beautiful sound. There is a precious sound that comes with the good. And when we get on that frequency, the vibration of that good, we can hear it. And it's one writer in the sacred text says, oh, it sounds like an abundant rain coming to bless my life. There was another story told of a lady who was homeless, day in and day out, riding in her car, going from tea shop to tea shop, eating scones and the best that she could find with her children. There was something stirring on the inside of her, and when she would get in the shop, she would just write on napkins and, just writing all of this stuff that was pouring forth through her on napkins. And she didn't know what, didn't know when, didn't know how, didn't know who, but all she knew is that her soul was calling for her to birth this thing. And it says that she kept writing, and then she saw what was birthing itself through her, and she decided to carry it to some of the major publishers to see if they would publish it. And one after the other, she was rejected. No, we don't want to deal with it. No, that's not what we're looking for. No, she was rejected. But something inside of her told her that this was a divine opportunity, and she was just like Jacob wrestling with the angel, said, I'm not going to let you go until I get my blessing. And she went to the small publisher who saw the material, saw the potential, and was spiritualized enough to know that time and chance had come together. And that small publishing company said, yes, we will publish your thing, your material. And J.K. Rowling, author of the Harry Potter stories, stands today as the wealthiest woman in England because she saw her divine opportunity. And she refused to let it go, regardless to, you see, when your spiritual ear is spiritualized, you don't even hear what the critics say about you. You don't even care what they say about you because you know that there's something bigger and better than anything that anybody has anything to say about you. You stand in alignment with it because you know that your destiny is tied up in divine opportunity. And you keep walking in that direction, walking toward good health, walking towards good relationship, walking towards good experiences, walking towards better situations. You walk towards it. Push your way through the crowds if you have to. And I promise you, there's a whole lot of doubters out here. And not only are there doubters, they're haters. I know that's a youth vernacular. I think I heard, I don't know who I heard, Bobby Schuller saying that. So everybody doesn't want you to step into that. They want you to step back and hide your light. Nelson Mandela says there's nothing grand about playing small. You don't serve the world playing small. Nobody benefits by you playing small, trying to hide your light. Let your light shine. And when you let your light shine, you unconsciously give others the permission to do the same. And then we can see the goodness of God manifested here on this earth. I love the story of the lady in the Gospel of Luke who sensed her divine opportunity. For 12 years, she had been rejected. 12 years, she was told that she should not expect anything better to happen in her experience, suffering. 12 years. But she heard some good news that there was one passing her way, that he was so at one with God. They called him a holy man. It says if you even got in his consciousness, in the atmosphere of his consciousness, if your soul needed healing, you would get made whole. For years she was told that there's no reason to hope, nothing to hope for. This is the best that you'll ever get. But something on the inside caused this lady to push her way through the crowds. And it says she touched the hem of his garment and she got her healing. Friends, the good news is that your opportunity, divine opportunity, is at hand. What are you going to do with it? God bless you.